Right now, Harsh, the main point of stock falling today about 5% of an intraday that we are looking at is on the kind of target price that has been set by ICICI. Now, despite the sell rating, that is one of the key aspects that we'll talk about later, but it's the target price which has the street in it's the one that the street is viewing at with a surprise over here. Target price is set at about 1,165, which implies a 77% of a downside from the current levels. And this target price has been raised from the earlier level of 900 that they had held earlier. Now, a couple of reasons that they've given. First is that despite the strong performance that we are seeing, the valuations continue on the higher side. But just to give a wrap up on what ICICI had to say about this, margins were aided by lower provisions and before time deliveries. That is why margins were a beat. But and these elevated margins are expected to continue with the deliveries ahead of the schedule. So the 25-26% of EBITDA margins that we are looking at are going to sustain at these levels. Considering which they have increased their EPS estimates by 51% and 73% respectively for FY25 and 26 onwards, and why we are looking at the target price now set at about 1,165 as compared to a 900 rupee earlier. Again, however, they do believe that these margins will start tapering off once the new contracts will be executed, and the current order book also will be executed by FY26 end. So valuations, one of the prime reason, and this is what even Nirmal Bang had to say in its report. They've maintained a sell price at about 4,468 crore, at 4,468 per share. So again, not such a big downside as per ICICI, but still we are looking at 10.6% of downside from the current levels. The top line growth that the company came out with was a miss versus the expectations that they had set. The brokerage continues revenue, EBITDA and PAT to expand by 22%, 59% and 31% respectively during the FY24 to 26 period. However, they've downgraded the whole defense sector in general with a sell rating before a month. This is because of the kind of valuation run-up that has happened versus the stock run-up that we are looking at. Believes that the valuations are much higher than what the fundamentals provide for the investors going forward. But that is on one side. But on the other side, they do believe that the Navratna status will help the company in attaining more goals for the business going forward. So this is expensive valuations for both the brokerages as to why we are seeing the downside in the stock that we are looking at.
All right, thanks a lot for that, Anushi. I don't know about 70% downside, but there's some pullback that has come into these stocks for sure. Sudeep, and actually then to Ruchit as well. But Sudeep, to you first. Last 24 months, dips into defense stocks have been bought into very, very strongly. Do you believe that this current dip that we're seeing in these businesses will get bought into as well because of the order books, etc., or at some point of time, the expensive valuations catch up with you?
Well, Neeraj, I really can't comment whether this will be bought into or not. But the question is, at some point of time, the music has to stop. Because, I think we have discussed this earlier also in your program. These are good companies. They're doing well. They are getting orders left, right, center. It's great. Everything is going right for them. But that doesn't automatically translate into that kind of an astronomical valuation. Order inflow cannot be equated with every order inflow brings in another 10-20% upside. That's an absurd situation through which some of these PSU defense and railway names have been going through. It's just sheer euphoria. It had to correct somewhere. These are good companies and they will come back and give this kind of valuation at some point in time in the future. But today, do they deserve, does Mazagon Dock deserve a 5,000 buck price? I don't think so. Whether it will settle at 1,165 or 2,000 or, that's very difficult to predict. It depends on multiple things. But at 5,000 or 4,700 even, these are, very, very expensive valuations. And, whether they will correct sharply or there will be time correction, one doesn't know. But correction has to happen at some point of time.
Most certainly. Ruchit, any supports that you would keep an eye out for, or do you believe there are more downsides here?
Well, I think there could be some short-term correction in the stock. Mazagon Dock, especially if you see, then the stock is a good support around that 4,500 level. So we need to see whether that support gets broken. If we see breakdown below that 4,500, then we can even see 4,000 levels in the short term. So that does not change the long-term trend. If I look at the monthly chart, then it seems that these are just the retracements of that entire previous up moves which we have seen. But because the run-up was so sharp, and hence even if the stock retraces by 23.6% or 38.2% of the previous up moves, then we could see a decent price-wise correction from the recent swing highs. But I think these are just corrections within an uptrend. It's difficult to say where would this stock bottom out to start the next leg of up move. But until we get any such signs, I think one should just wait and watch for some kind of reversals coming in. So I think some of the stocks would go through some price-wise correction. Maybe names such as GRSE is there, Mazagon Dock is there, which have rallied very significantly. But if we look at the momentum readings of some of the other defense names such as HL or BL, they have already corrected from the highs with a time-wise correction. So I think there the price-wise downside seems to be very limited.
Okay, well, that's some stocks to monitor in the session today for sure. The other aspect is what's happened to some of those platform businesses. Harsh was talking about it briefly, but I was looking in the morning. Zomato, in addition to Ola Electric, was doing well. Ola Electric, of course, is still gone berserk, but Zomato is now marginally in the red. The circuit on Ola Electric did open for a brief bit, but Zomato, no such luck today. PB Fintech should come up on your screen too. Let's just see what that one is up to, because that one has had a decent run in the recent past.